You're listening to CRM Audio, the Microsoft Business Applications and Power Platform podcast. I'm Joel Lindstrom, and joining me today is Jonathan Stypula, the president of Dynamic Consulting. Jonathan's here to tell us all about the exciting DynamicsCon event that's coming up. Hello, Jonathan.
Hey, Joel. Call me John.
Okay, John.
Is that you on the ukulele?
Yeah, no, that's actually not. But I tried ukulele, but my fingers are too big for the ukulele. But thanks for joining us. And we got this event coming up, and looking forward to it. So, tell us a little bit about DynamicsCon. What is it?
Yeah, it's a virtual event, totally free, put on by the community for the community. So it's September 9th and 10th, and we're inviting anyone that wants to learn about Dynamics or Power Platform to register at dynamicscon.com and then attend 9th and 10th. Or if you can't make it, the sessions are going to be up on the YouTube channel, a day or two after the event. So lots of ways to consume the content. Again, it's the main goal was kind of lots of goals, I guess. If I take a step back, I've been in the Dynamics space since 2007, and it's been kind of a passion of mine for sure, and always been heavily involved in the community. I think in 2015 I donated like 500 hours to AXUG, speaking and webinars, and they had these SIGs. I don't know if they still have them or not. So always been pretty active in the community, but also trying to do different things, mix it up. So in 2016, Jake Roeder and I got involved with Doug, Dynamic User Group, with Eric Ernst. And he runs the forum there in Denmark. And then in 2018, I started doing meetups around the country and around the world, and that's been a lot of fun. And then now with COVID and kind of just a bleak conference outcomes and just everything else, we're hearing a need from speakers that they wanted to get on stage more. And also, community members wanted to consume more content, which I was really surprised about, to be honest. Seems like everyone and their uncle has a conference going on now.
Seems like there's always something going on every weekend.
I know. And
there was a big field service thing this last weekend.
Yeah, that's right. And so Microsoft and MVPs and everyone, and I thought, we don't need more of this. What do we need more of this for? And then we did at Dynamic Consulting, we did a small, non-advertised, like Power BI webinar series with one of our team members there, and hundreds of people showed up. And I was just surprised, like how could people need more content? So, then just said, what would be fun would be to have a Comic-Con for Dynamics, and that was about the a level of effort that went into the naming, and here you go, DynamicsCon was born.
Yeah. So, how do you make this different from all the other stuff? What's unique about DynamicsCon versus all the other great events that are going on right now?
Yeah, that's a great question. So that's what I thought about. I said, what are and we put it on the website there, it's on the front page, but what are the guiding stars for this event and why is it different? And so a couple things. One, we because there are a lot of just WebEx, webinar, Microsoft Teams type of conference events, we thought, let's do something a little bit higher quality. Pre-record the sessions, edit them for sound. You're on a virtual event and you're, someone spikes in your ear and there's internet issues, there's dogs barking and kids running around, and which is all great. We've all learned to get used to that. But, thinking that if we're going to do an event, let's do it different. Let's do it a little more polished. Let's have fun. Some people have been really put off by the style of the event, that it looks a little too, it is busy. I will acknowledge that it's busy. Joel, you're doing your session. You're about to record next. I don't know how busy you find the slides and everything, but let's have fun. I don't know. I'm stuck in a house all day long. I need to have a little bit of fun. Free was really big. There are other events out there that you pay for, and that's great. But thinking, I think in this day and age for a virtual event, I think free is the right price. And it certainly seems to be, something our community sponsors and Microsoft and others seem to resonate with really well. And then the last thing is, a couple things. We're going to pay the speakers. So I kind of started to think, what didn't I like about the other events? And, some MVPs kind of and others gave us feedback that, I'm giving all this content away, so we're going to try to pay and compensate the speakers. We're also trying to crowdsource the content. There was 230 sessions submitted and over 11,000 votes just to produce, 50 educational sessions. And, the attempt to crowdsource that and kind of democratize the schedule and the agenda was an attempt. And last bit is to publish the financials. So it's not a commercial endeavor by me. It's a separate entity. It's a separate company running as a not-for-profit where the financials will be public, and any proceeds will go to COVID relief charity. So those were kind of some of the guiding tenets. Early on we've gotten pushback a bit. It's too busy, or it's the same speakers, or it's a popularity contest, and I get it. I love that the conversation we're having about what's best, and so we can edit and adjust. We'll do it this way this time, and then we'll listen to feedback and do it again another way. I mean, that's kind of the fun thing about doing it as a startup. You can kind of do whatever you want.
And the more events like this we have, the more availability there is for people who haven't spoken before to get experience too, even starting with local user groups that have remote meetings. How are you balancing like the recruiter aspect? Because one feedback I hear a lot is I go to one of these free Saturday events or something, and I suddenly get slammed with all these recruiters calling me afterwards because they're sponsored by recruiters. Have you done anything there, or any concerns?
Well, we don't have any recruiter sponsors, so that's step one. And two, I think it's free. There's some expectation that you might get emailed from the sponsors or something. I think that's okay. I think that's a good trade-off.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hopefully it doesn't become like a vulture scenario or something. I think various people in the community, Microsoft, independents, customers are all doing sessions. From what we can tell, it hasn't been an overly salesy. So far for the recordings, they haven't been salesy at all. So, I think people know how to play nice, and people know when they're being sold to, and it's a turnoff. And I don't think our community's all that interested in that. We'll police it if there's a problem, but so far I haven't seen anything. I actually hadn't heard that about those vultures.
Yeah, I went to some of them, and immediately I got people from insert name of recruiter here calling me up, and it's great if you're looking for a job or something.
On LinkedIn? I mean, I get one a week on LinkedIn anyway. For some reason, I have Dynamics in my title, and they're like, "Oh, we need an X++ developer in Iowa for 6 months." Yeah, like I'm
when the F&O recruiters reach out to me, I say, "Did you really read my profile at all?" So, do you see this ever, or have any aspiration to ever turn this into an in-person event after COVID?
Yeah, I think so. It'll be really interesting. And what do you think? Like, is in-person event, are they dead? I don't know. We have the meetups. So we have 1,600 people in our meetups. We have 20 chapters, and we're going to grow that. Actually, some people that have submitted sessions that has said, "Hey, can you put a chapter in our country?" or something like that. So I think the meetups could be an in-person local event. Will we ever do an in-person big event? I don't know. Sounds like a lot of work,
right?
And a lot of risk. I don't know. I think Microsoft does it really, really well, and let them do the in-person stuff. But who knows? You can never say never. But I wonder what happens. COVID. Let's say a vaccine comes out tomorrow and it's 98% effective, and everyone takes it, and all the positive ways it could spin. I still think people are kind of questioning the value of in-person now, and especially if we go another year of no in-person events, will this become the new normal? It'll be really interesting to see for sure.
I think there's maybe a place for more regional, smaller in-person events rather than the big ones. But you're right. now that we have experience doing this and companies' marketing budgets have changed and everything, but there's always going to be, ISVs and partners that want to find that bigger event to promote their stuff at too. So I think that's going to...
Or they're going to have to find new ways. Martin at E1 wrote a blog post about that like 50% of his leads came from in-person events, and now his org's going to have to find a new way to find those people and reach those leads for himself. And so what happens? I mean, maybe it's not an or, it's an and. Maybe the ISV channel and the partner channel will evolve, and then when it goes back in person, they'll do that too. I don't know. I mean, there's nothing replaces sitting in a room, round tabling with customers, having people come up and talk to you. But we'll see. We'll see a year of this, and we'll see. If you get similar events and you get similar as ours, and you get similar results as in-person events, then maybe people will say, do I need to be a week away from my family and buy a booth and sit in a hotel room again? I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, that's a good point. So tell us a little bit more about your background, Jon. You mentioned a little bit, but how did you get in this crazy business application?
Oh, yeah. Like most things, a girl, kind of. No, so I was a management consultant. I was traveling like crazy. I think I was on like multiple flights a week, and I just didn't have a life, and decided that I needed to stop traveling so I could try to have something more of a life. And so I tried to settle down in Chicago, and a recruiter, those nasty recruiters, called and said, "Hey, could you babysit this project, down the street from you for a couple of weeks?" And I said, I could, sure. I didn't know anything. I don't even know if I knew what an ERP was at the time. And then they're like, "Well, do you have any experience with Exapta?" And I said, "No." What is that? Sounds like, I don't know, a disease or something. And okay, fine. It's supposed to be 3 weeks. It evolved into like 4 years of, managing a global AX rollout and upgrade and all these other things. So I got kind of suckered into the Dynamics space. But I met Frank Vukovic, and he said, "Hey, why don't you join this thing called the AXUG?" So I started going to community events, and started going to, I think it was Convergence, if people remember what that was.
Right. I still have the notebook from 2011 Convergence. Never used it. Still have the notebook.
That's going to be worth.
I think that was New Orleans.
That and when they used to ship Dynamics on a CD-ROM, so you could install it. Right. So yeah, started speaking and realizing a lot of customers went through what we went through, and our partner wasn't the best, and kind of got pulled into the speaking circuit, getting on stage, sharing about project recovery and stuff like that, global rollouts, and then just kind of decided I wanted to do that for more people. So I moved into the partner channel and left the customer side, and Dynamic Consulting was more or less born. The founding tenets of the company was to be that different type of partner. We were very customer focused, and all the partners say they are, but we really, I sued our partners, so we knew kind of, the things not to do, I guess, and not take a salesy approach. And so Jake Roeder and I have been kind of running and growing Dynamic Consulting for the past couple of years. And over the years, Microsoft said, great that you know AX, but now you need to know CRM. So we started to bring in a CRM practice. And then they said, well, you need to know Azure and Office. So we, got gold competencies there. And so now we find ourselves trying to support the whole Dynamics and Power Platform kind of space. But, in that endeavor, trying to reach out to customers and share, knowledge, and kind of, I have this saying, high tides raise all ships, and thinking that, there's a lot of great content that customers, it's amazing. We ran into a customer just last year, didn't know about customer source, didn't know about, their Microsoft training, didn't know about free events that they can go to. I mean, there's still a lot of customers out there struggling. So, we continue to try to dedicate our resources through blogging and speaking on podcasts and now hosting events, I guess.
Yeah, great. So, yeah, everybody has somewhat similar but divergent paths that got them here. It's like I've met a couple of people, very few said, I planned to be doing this.
No,
most people kind of fell into it.
Aerospace engineering. I never planned to do any of this.
Or had a customer that needed a CRM platform, and they brought this in and they loved it, and then ran with it. So that's great. So so I'm excited about it. My session's about how do Dynamics people turn into Power Platform people, because I've gone over the last couple of years, gone through that transition myself, where now, frankly, I do more Power Platform and Power Apps, and kind of where's that line? When does Dynamics turn into Power Apps, and how do you do that? I think it's great. There's so many options.
Session, and I'm going to send probably 50 customers to it, because even this event, it's called DynamicsCon,
right?
But there's a Power Platform 2 days and lots of content, and there's a lot of overlap. Even the Dynamics sessions touch on Power Apps, Power BI, Power Automate, all these things. So it is so gray. And, if Microsoft could stick to a name, I think we could start to, I could then stick to a name for the conference. But there's a good chance we change the conference name even, because, DynamicsCon has turned off some Power Platform folks, and they've said, well, wait, but Microsoft Business Applications Con didn't have the same ring to it, I don't think. But we may have to, because it is really, and then Teams and DataFlex and then not DataFlex. I don't know. We'll see where it all lands. But definitely, it's very, very gray. I love that you're doing that session.
Yeah,
I can see why it got voted in.
Even I think a lot of Microsoft people don't know where that line is exactly.
Yeah,
and
I know.
They have people focused on Power Platform that don't necessarily know about things that are legacy Dynamics stuff that is in Common Data Service they can use, and then vice versa. People building custom stuff in Dynamics when, hey, did you know there's a connector for that? With the Power Platform. So yeah, exactly. We're all, and that's where it's all Power Platform. You have these first-party apps, but that's what I'm going to be talking about.
I can't imagine being a customer right now, because you Google or Bing something, and it says that Dynamics works this way. But what product are you in, and what does that mean? Talent and Dynamics 365 for HR was across 2 platforms, and it's got to be really, really hard and really confusing. It's hard enough for us to keep it all together, much less. And Microsoft, when we deal with Microsoft field sellers, they'll interchange those words sometimes, and having that conversation with a customer that you own Dynamics, but you don't own that Dynamics is always a tough one. And I think the Power space is definitely there. When is Power BI standalone? When is it embedded? When is Power Apps Plan 2? When is it a first party app? When did pick the difference between the two? All these sorts of things. I don't envy solution architects right now. I don't envy customers trying to make these decisions. And it's really scary, too. It's been so fluid in the last year or two. It just scares me that it's going to continue to be fluid for a little while longer. So
yeah, but if you look at it, bold prediction here, a year from now, we might be just saying we build Teams apps. Because if you look at the scale of what was called DataFlex, Power Platform has around 3 million monthly active users.
Oh, okay. That's a good number.
Teams has 75 million daily active users.
Yeah, I know.
And so this whole apps and Teams thing, it's like they're presenting like this new thing, because it really is to a whole world of people that have probably no idea what Power Apps are, what Dynamics are, but they're built in a way that can scale to it. That's a pretty awesome story.
But then when do you get, you deal with customers old customers that have 500 access databases all over the place. How do you not have that? How do you have that balance of some level of governance inside an org, and not just
for sure. It's people say it's access in the cloud, but it really access in the cloud plus governance and DLP and all that stuff. That's what gives us work to do, John.
I know. That's what I said. It's job security, I guess.
If everything was clear and just worked, we wouldn't have anything to do.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. But, people, customers say, well, should it just work? It's Microsoft. Shouldn't Excel and shouldn't these things just work? And I think Microsoft's taking us there in bits and fits and starts. But, I think the consultant becomes less of the doer. Maybe we're not doing as much of the back end lifting, but we're advising on what fits in which product the best and what workload goes where. Okay, your workload fits, a first party app really well, but this piece, let's do a custom Power App or whatever. And the licensing model, when to pay for what. I mean, I definitely think there's plenty to be said around that. I don't know that there's best practice developed just yet, though, because we come across, I guess when you're a hammer, everything's a nail, right? So if you're a CRM partner, you definitely see one way to solve it. If you're a Teams and collaboration partner, there's another way to solve it with SharePoint. There's still, I think there's a lot of gray, but can't wait to watch your session.
Have you seen the Power Platform Adoption Framework, the community platform? That has a lot of really good stuff around that. And that's where, again, I'm seeing a lot of customers, especially going outside of the Dynamics world. There's a lot of customers I'm running into that have makers who are doing really good apps. And so
I agree with you.
If you're a partner whose whole business model is I'm going to have this team and they're going to do everything for you and build that app end to end, you're going to find customers that have people that are almost up to the skill level of what your team is. And so that's where it becomes more of a kind of an advisory role. And maybe you have people who can do more advanced stuff, but advising people on how to do that and managing the center of excellence and all that stuff, and realizing there's multiple paths to success. A lot of times with Dynamics, we acted like we had this special knowledge that really wasn't that special.
No, you're right.
And in some ways, model-driven apps and Dynamics are lower code than Power Apps are.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I see that. Yeah, for sure.
But it just keeps life interesting. So again, just can't be so married to the old data model that you can't shake things up.
Yeah, I think so. Kind of bring it back to DynamicsCon in a way, and just something you said made me think of that is at 5 Central on the 9th, a very smart lady named Foyen from Nigeria.
She's awesome.
Is giving us, she's awesome. And that's exactly what happened at her org. She said, there's got to be an easier way than all these spreadsheets. She taught herself Power Platform and Power App development, but then even took us up further and said, why do I need to be the gatekeeper of this information? She started teaching others and sharing inside her org and outside of her org, and has built this whole ecosystem in Nigeria for upskilling yourself with the Power Platform. And it's not just marketing speak. This happened, and then the story came across to Microsoft. And of course, she was on stage with Satya or mentioned during Inspire. But I think she's going to speak. And also, I think Donna Sarkar, our one of our keynotes, is going to talk about that. And I think there's some messaging there about, like you said, you don't have to have 10 years of Dynamics experience to build a very creative, interesting, beneficial app for your org. And that's going to definitely lead to, I'm going to have to say this, digital transformation at your company and maybe at a totally lower cost and a better product. I mean, these consultants come in and they leave, but you got someone that's been there for 8 years. They know the pain points of the organization. Are going to build a way better app. Right. To support that business load.
Yeah, I think that's a great story, and it's also a great empowerment story too. Saying people who were weren't in the career they loved find this tool, and then they find how to solve business challenges. But I think it is a balancing too, because some people get like, oh, I just need to have this business IT pro and have them do it. And there's a lot they can do, but if you don't have somebody with a developer mindset, not a developer skill set, but more of a mindset, you reach a point you can't scale past. You need to have that governance and kind of the scaling the apps and things like that. So that's where, again, it still is a, it takes a good mix of people. But I'm super glad
I would add that you need like a project mindset too, because so one of the things that was good about Dynamics, the one thing about it being expensive that was good is that it was expensive, so people took it seriously. They got executive buy-in. They, people tested, because you were not going to spend this much money and not test and think it through and get sign off and stuff. And I do have a concern when it's cheap or free and you have a bunch of people doing it, maybe it doesn't ever get delivered and you just have a lot of like shelfware or something like that. So we'll be battling different issues, but that's a different problem set to solve for, but it's, our roles change, I guess. But
I'm talking about that in my session specifically. Anybody can go sign up for the Flow free plan and build these flows. How do you control that? How do you manage it? How do you make sure that doesn't get out of hand?
That's great.
So it's all stuff. But
isn't that funny? We're not talking about the technology. You're talking about the adoption and implementation, strategy, communication, training. Those are also very important things. Like you said, a developer mindset or a project mindset. You still might need someone to take it on as a strategic project, track it like a strategic project, though your developers might be, your SMEs and each of your departments or something. So awesome.
And then I do a lot of work with like insurance companies and people that have, heavy compliance weight. Yeah. And the flip side of that is they look at everything with risk glasses on. And they see everything like, I need to shut that down and control that. Mm-hmm. They miss the other side, which is the user empowerment. You got to balance the user empowerment and the governance, and each one has to have equal weight, because you go too far either way, you'll have a problem.
Yep. Oh yeah, definitely. We have in the F&O space, there's a financial reporting tool called, it was called Management Reporter. It's called Financial Reporting now. And the idea was you could you could let your end users develop these reports. Like you build the data structure and the kind of schema, and then you drag and drop in Excel. And that's that balance too. Is some IT departments were like, we're going to let users determine our financial reports. and so then there was like the control had to go through IT, but it's like you're trying to build, empower the finance department to not bring report requests into IT. So, every IT manager complains about that, but then when they go to extend the power to the end user, like, well, how can we trust, Dave over there? Silly Dave's going to, go nuts with it. So that's definitely always a concern, but wow, that's awesome. You're going to touch on a lot then.
So
bookmark session.
Getting back to DynamicsCon,
sure.
With the higher quality recorded sessions, how do you do recorded sessions and make it not just a YouTube watching party?
Yeah, so good question. I mean, that to be determined to some extent. Like, how do you go live on YouTube and not just watch it later? I don't know.
Like, our attendees going to be able to ask questions to the presenters? Yeah,
so that's the one thing we thought. What is nice about live? So during your recorded sessions playing, the speaker is going to be available to chat with anyone that comes to that session. So live in the session, there's going to be a moderator and the speaker is going to be available to answer questions. And then when the session's over, we're going to cut over to live Q&A or live answers, thinking that maybe there's a name change between when you record the product and when we play it on September 9th or something.
Yeah, so, that DataFlex thing.
Still, who knows what happens in the next 2 weeks. But yeah, there'll be a live Q&A and a Q&A. We also said, well, what's the presenter going to be doing there? I mean, it's kind of simulated. So some people might log in and feel like it's live, but we're not going to hide anything. It was pre-recorded.
Right.
So you're going to be able to chat like in chat. You're going to have to. Anyone can watch the session. You're going to have to sign in to chat, a lot like Mixer was or Twitch or something. You'll see the session. Why go watch it live when you could watch it just recorded later? Yeah, but hopefully you come for some community aspect. There's going to be some networking events. There's going to be some giveaways. There's going to be other things for live, but certainly I don't know. How much of Inspire did you watch live?
Well, and that's the thing is for Inspire and Build and a lot of the Microsoft conferences, what people don't realize is a lot of those sessions are pre-recorded. And so like after Build or like during Build, I was interviewing one of the product team members and asked him some questions and said, "Good luck on your session." He said, "Well, I already recorded it," and I had no idea watching it was live. So if it's done well, and you still have the ability to chat with people, and it feels live, I think it can work well, and does have the benefit of being more polished.
We want a community feel. We don't want to just be a television show, so we want a community feel. There will be some Q&A live in video Q&A and text Q&A. There could be some other things happening during the event to try to promote the live attendance, but we'll see. It's a trial. I mean, everyone's trying to figure this out. And I do think a lot of you will come on demand after the event globally. Unfortunately, right now we only are doing U.S. time zones. I think if we do the event again, we're going to spread the time zones out a bit more. But there probably will be some people that don't want to get up in the middle of the night to watch, so they'll probably watch in the morning, I guess. but we'll see. We'll see what happens. It's a lot, like you said, a lot of Inspire was pre-recorded, and a lot of the videos were on demand afterwards. But I had heard something like 59,000 people were at max watching some of the Inspire sessions. So I don't know. Maybe it'll be something people have up live while they're doing some emails or something. And if they hear something interesting, they'll go back to remember to watch that. I think the other thing is you can bounce around a lot. Like it's not like you're registered just for a track. There's all 4 tracks are going to Power Platform, CE, Business Central, and F&O are going to be playing kind of at the same time. So you have some freedom to kind of bounce around a bit. So there's so much content. How often do you really get back and watch it when it's pre-recorded? So I'm hoping a set of people do schedule some time set aside to go and just kind of watch it live and experience it a bit. So, but we will see together.
I think there's pros and cons to both. So like if I'm in a smaller user group meeting that has 25 people or something, I like being able to have, the more interaction with the audience during it and have people ask questions as we do it. When you have this size or, got 100, 200, 300, 500 people, that's not practical, or you never would finish the session. And also, the little secret is like Power Apps, demoing them over Teams always takes longer. Things take longer to load and other things like that. And you have delays switching between things. Like now I'm going to go to the Maker experience. I'm going to, preview the app. That there's always delays, or we can switch to Flow or something, or waiting for the Flow to run. The nice thing about having a pre-recorded thing is you can edit those out, still show the real thing, but kind of like the cooking show, where you got you don't see the whoever your favorite celebrity chef is mixing everything together. They have it all pre-mixed and then say, okay, now I'm put this in, now I'm going to put it in. Now it's done.
There's a pro and a con. You're right. You won't see the real world experience of it, like you needing to log in 5 times with MFA or something. But and the pro is you won't see it 5 times, and hopefully maybe the presenter will speak to it. But it's going to be a lot of that stuff's going to be edited out for smoother. I wanted high content, not necessarily technically deep, but I just wanted a highly produced. I think content is king anymore. You look at all these online delivery platforms, and it's just all about who can make the most compelling visual audio story. And so Netflix and Hulu and everything that live news broadcasts are cool, but really people are going for the Daily Show or Last Week Tonight, the highly edited, deep, really rich content. I think is kind of more the direction we're going with this. So we'll see. I still think some people will show up because it's live, to experience. Some people will want to just have it playing so they can be social with it and talk about it after it happens. And some people will consume after the fact. And we'll learn, and we'll get to do it again. We'll try something else. I agree with you. We're going to have, we're shooting for, there's almost 4,000 people registered. I don't know what percentage of registrants will attend live, but even 10% would be 400 people. It's obviously a lot of people to have it's not going to be a round table where you're going to just pull up and chat with 2 or 3 people.
Right.
I think we have a meetups group for that. And I think that's probably better. Like you said, more of a regional thing, maybe where I don't even know if you would do it in person at first, but maybe we'll have some virtual stuff where you could do that at 25 people level. And
I mean, like when I've done virtual app in a days, there's typically like 25% don't show up. It's just the nature of things. But you probably have some people also who are signed up just for 1 or 2 sessions, like they really want to learn about something or want to see the keynote or something. But that's all good. We have good quality content. People can watch it later on. So I'm looking forward to it.
Thanks, Joel.
Even more so after I finish recording my session. So if people want to register, go to DynamicsCon.com. Is that the best way to do it? That's
right. Just register right there. Fill out a few questions. You can put your address in if you want some swag mailed to you. If you don't, that's fine. And then come 9th and 10th, come attend.
Okay, great. Well, I'll put your LinkedIn profile link there as well, so if people want to get in touch with you there. Is that the best way for people to contact you?
Yeah, sure. There, Twitter, Stipulation, like my last name, @Stipulation. Come tweet at me and harass me a little bit. I can take it.
All right. Well, thanks, and appreciate you joining us here on CRM Audio.